Hello everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Revolutionary versus Extraordinary. What is revolutionary versus extraordinary? All of you must be asking. Well, it's a series in which we take something, a game, movie, series, other form of media possibly, that revolutionized the genre that it's in, and compare it to something else in its series, or something very similar that expanded on the idea that the revolutionary had. Now, there's a few things to preface before we get started here. One, this layout is going to change. I do not have this figured out yet. I'm not great at editing, so things will change as we go on. For that, I apologize. I also apologize for my appearance. I'm recording this at 8 a.m. right before I go into work. So, that aside, let's expand on revolutionary versus extraordinary a little more. First, this is apples to apples. It's not apples to manure. It's not apples to oranges even. It is apples to apples. You have a Honeycrisp and a Granny Smith, or a Red Delicious. They're all apples. They are all very good. And they are all similar. Just because one thing wins and I prefer it does not mean the other is bad. Alright? So I can't handle being berated in comments over preferring one thing over another and you prefer the other over the one thing. That is okay. It is okay. Revolutionary versus extraordinary is built for that. You can prefer the revolutionary. You can prefer the extraordinary. They're both amazing. That is what this is for. Now, for games, which is what we'll be doing today with Breath of the Wild versus Tears of the Kingdom, I grade on 7 things on a scale of 1 to 10 for each. And then it is divided and the verdict is out of 10. Now, these 7 things are gameplay, story, characters, world, audio, visual, and overall enjoyability. If the 2 things are tied, then the media with the higher enjoyability wins. Because when something's more enjoyable, you're more likely to go back to it. If the enjoyability is also tied, revolutionary will win by default because it came first, and as self-explanatory, it revolutionized the media that it is in. Alright, next thing to go over here is the scale in which the verdicts will be in. So, as you can see here, a 10 will be perfect. 9s is excellent. 8s, amazing. 7s, great. 6s, good. 5s, fair. 4s, subpar. 3s, poor. 2s, bad. 1, terrible. 0.1 to 0.9, atrocious. And 0s, I want them to burn and never be seen again. The top and the bottom, 10s and 0s, you will likely never see. Everything I have graded, only maybe 1 or 2 things have even got to the 9s. I haven't had anything get to even 1. And obviously, as I've said, I've gotten 0 10s and 0 0s. So, take with that what you will. Anyways, that being said, let's get into Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I'm definitely not going to get crucified for this. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the series, let's go over a little bit of the development and launch of these games, starting obviously with Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was initially teased with a small little teaser in a Twilight Princess stylization showing the power of the Wii U, which, as we know, dated hardware. The game was announced to come out in 2015, shown in 2014 with a teaser showcasing the open world style of Link that people thought was a girl, and the very first Guardian. Again, they said this would come out in 2015. In 2015, they showcased it and delayed it to 2016. And in 2016, they released a trailer and delayed it to March 3rd, 2017 to debut with the Nintendo Switch. This ended up being a very good thing because this was an immediate system seller. Because Breath of the Wild revolutionized an era of open world gaming, not just with Zelda, but with gaming as a whole. Games like Assassin's Creed expanded their worlds even more. Sonic Frontiers, we can thank Breath of the Wild for. In a way, games like Donkey Kong Bonanza are also have Breath of the Wild to thank. This game also changed combat mechanics in the Zelda series. This isn't as revolutionary for gaming as the open world, but it's revolutionary for Zelda. Instead of swinging a sword with the B button and collecting items in dungeons, you can pick them up off of enemies that have routines, and your weapons have durability. There's multiple different kinds. You can really use whatever you want. You don't even need the Master Sword if you don't want it. Now, Tears of the Kingdom, released in May of 2023, 6 years after Breath of the Wild. And like its predecessor, it had a couple delays. I mean, it was initially intended to be a DLC. The studio realized the extra content they had could warrant a whole new game and get some more money off of it. But they decided to go for a sequel, and this has only been done, I think, 2 other times in Majora's Mask and Phantom Hourglass. Tears of the Kingdom. It expanded on the exploration and the combat of Breath of the Wild with new abilities, powers, weapons, and it doubled the scope of the map. More than doubled the scope, adding the depths and the sky islands to the world of Hyrule. Moving on to the story. The story of Breath of the Wild, while it isn't bad, it is clearly meant to take a backseat to the open world. The story starts with Link waking up 100 years in the future of when, spoiler alert, he was killed. He meets an elder man who guides him in basically the tutorial, and you learn that this was the King of Hyrule who was killed in the Calamity. You'll hear about the Calamity a lot in this game because all of the champions have fallen. And you don't really get to hear too much about it unless you do the memories. And the memories are the highlight of this story. If you do not do them, you have the most minimalistic story possible. It is meant to be there just to get the job done and give you an excuse to do the Divine Beasts. Essentially. Other than the powers, nothing would be stopping you from not doing it if it wasn't for the bare bonesness of the story. Now these memories, like I said, they are good. They build Link's persona up so you see more than just a character that you control. Link's relationship with Zelda is built. He is the guardian knight of the princess, and she hates it. She hates it. She hates that he doesn't talk. She hates it. until she starts to get him to open up a little bit. You also see other things, like the Hylians digging up the ancient technology with the intent to build a large military, and it ends up backfiring on them. Surprise, surprise. And that's how the Guardians became enemies. Calamity Ganon took them over from right under the Hylians' noses. And this killed the champions, and it killed the king, and put Zelda in a 100-year, essentially, prison waiting for Link to be resurrected. Like I said, I mean, these cons, they don't outweigh the pros, but at best, it's kind of a wash, and it leaves a little bit to the imagination, which can be a very good thing. It leaves questions like, how are Kakariko and Hateno still standing? Why are the Sheikah monks testing Link the way they are? Do they know that he died and we're waiting for him to be resurrected? Why are they doing this? How is Zelda not aging in a stasis while fighting Calamity Ganon? These questions are all things that I had, and while they don't necessarily hurt the story, they don't help it much either. If anything, it's a very, very, very slight negative. As a fully grown Link, you have all your hearts, you have all your stamina, you have the Master Sword, whole shebang, and you are traveling underground beneath Hyrule Castle with Zelda because there is a mysterious fog rising into Hyrule. There you find a skeletal Ganondorf being held down by the hand of Rauru, which gives in right as you show up. And Ganondorf destroys the Master Sword, and Zelda falls and disappears. And for now, we don't know where she went. Now the story, I say, is similar to Breath of the Wild because it has the 4 designated areas, and they all have their own little thing going on. And you meet the new sages, who are, all but one of them, are the same as the descendants from Breath of the Wild. And because, like Breath of the Wild, they want you to be able to do these in any order, all the cutscenes come out as very bland. Once you beat the dungeons, and these characters become these sages, they all say the exact same thing. The cutscenes are all the same. The original sages all say the same thing, give or take maybe 2 lines. The descendants of the sages all say the same thing, to the point that every single playthrough, all I say is Demon King, Secret Stones. It's very bland. It is more bland, to tell the truth, than Breath of the Wild. And Breath of the Wild, as I said, is just getting the job done. Maybe a little bit better than getting the job done, but it's not a whole lot. The story highlights for Tears of the Kingdom, however, after these 4 and during the Dragon Tears. The Dragon Tears tell the story of Zelda's experience going to the past and her experiences with Rauru and Sonia, building her up as a character, building her up as a sage, watching her help defeat Ganondorf and seal him away, watching, again, her grow as a character and decide to make the ultimate sacrifice. Now, this ultimate sacrifice is swallowing a secret stone and becoming an immortal dragon, which is a bad thing. It sounds cool, but it's a bad thing. It's forbidden because you lose all sense of yourself. You basically become an animal that can rely only on instinct and roam the sky forever. Now, if it's a bad thing, you'd be asking, well, why would she do it then? That makes no sense. It makes sense because at the beginning of the game, the Master Sword is brought back in time. The destroyed Master Sword is rewinded back to her time, and she learns that her power of light can help restore it. It would just take a very, very, very long time. We're talking millennias here. And she does it. So she roams around the skies as an animal, essentially forever, until the end of the game. Another issue with the story. After you get these 4 sages, the story starts to pick up because you need to find ancient Zonai, not riddles, but artifacts, stories, and you find a secret hidden 5th dungeon where you find the spirit for Minoru, yet another sage. And after this, you can go tackle Ganondorf, who is still beneath the castle. And the fight, we won't get into it, but it's overall very good. I have a couple of gripes with it. I'll get into all that later. But story-wise, after you defeat him, this is a big thing for me. It is such a big issue. After the final catch, where you catch Zelda and you save her for another time, after she saved you by charging the Master Sword, helping you with the final boss, all that. You learn that she's a person again, first of all. So that kind of undermines the eating of the Secret Stone, swallowing the stone, becoming a dragon. It defeats that. And if you look closely enough, Link's regular hand is back. Raru's hand is gone. He's back to normal too. So essentially, this game never happened. Just like how Breath of the Wild basically never happened, because all the Guardians are gone, all the Shrines are gone, all the Sheikah Towers are gone. It's all gone. So if there's ever a third game, it's gonna be the same thing. It's gonna feel almost like a second, or in this case, third draft, as opposed to a sequel and telling a full story, which really is a big gripe for me. Gameplay now. The gameplay of Breath of the Wild, it's good. It's good. It's not for everyone, but it hits for me overall. Some of the pros are obviously the big open world leaves the opportunity for a lot of exploration right from the get-go. As soon as Link wakes up from the Shrine of Resurrection and you get out, you see this big open world. You can't explore the whole thing yet, but you can after about like an hour, give or take. But as soon as that cutscene ends, you can see 3 paths you can take. You can essentially jump down and learn that gravity is a big issue in this game. You can start climbing up, or you can follow the path. All these teach you something different. If you go up, you can learn you can climb. Like I said, if you go down, you learn about the implication of fall damage. And if you follow the path, you will find an old man who will offer conversation and things like a baked apple, so you can learn about things like cooking, as well as NPCs can teach you some important stuff here. Some of the other things that are pros for this game are the freedom to go at your own pace. You learn this almost right away as well. You find the shrines, and you can tackle whichever one in whatever order at whatever pace. You can't leave the Great Plateau until you get all of them, but you have the freedom to do that. Variety in combat. There are one-handed weapons, two-handed weapons, spears, boomerangs, bows. You can use the Sheikah Slate abilities as things for combat. It allows complete and total freedom. You can play the game how you want to play, as long as long as it's in the game, you can really do whatever. This coincides with the outfit customization. You can mix and match outfits, really wear whatever you want. You can walk around in your underwear. You can have Link just run around naked. And you'll get different dialogue, but that's about it. It's other than some different dialogue, people telling you to put some clothes on, and the lack of defense points, it doesn't really impact you too negatively. Now, this type of gameplay, like I said, it's not for everyone. It does have some cons. This type of game, with the shrines, it's very grindy. It is very grindy. You have to find shrines, which they're common. You'll find them basically anywhere, because they're meant to point you into directions of interesting landscapes. So you'll find them often, but you need 4 of them to get a heart container or a bit of stamina wheel. And this is one of my grievances. There's 120 shrines. I think there's too many. And I think there's too many for this reason. First of all, that is a lot of shrines, and it takes a long time. Second of all, each one of these shrines has a puzzle designated around a physic or an ability. It's something or the other. And these take away from the Divine Beast dungeons. The dungeons all revolve around one thing each. Whether tilting with the bird, the Von Meadow, I believe. Turning the inner cylinder with the electric one, the camel looking one. I can't remember all their names, so you're going to have to bear with me here. Controlling the water spout of the trunk with the elephant one. Or, I believe, tilting the entire dungeon with the lizard looking one inside Death Mountain. These are all great mechanics for these divine beasts, but it's essentially just a blech. Once you figure it out, it's so easy. It's just doing it. It's your brain figures it out, but then you just have to sit through the motion of doing it. And this reminds me of things like Ocarina of Time. When you figure out the order you have to move blocks in, and the game just doesn't move fast enough. It leaves you very, very bored. And this goes with the shrines, because they could have cut these shrines down and put the shrine puzzles inside these divine beasts as well, and expanded them even more. They could have made these divine beasts feel like these big epic dungeons, like they were kind of insinuated to be. They're these giant weapons, and their puzzles are just so simplistic and frankly a little boring. It doesn't fit too well. Other issues with the game, the stamina wheel. I wish you started off with 2 wheels of stamina, just because it rains so frequently, which is another issue with this game. When it rains, you slide down when climbing, which makes sense because this game has a lot of things around physics, but it is just not practical for gameplay. It makes me wish you just started off with just 2 stamina wheels, so you could run more, you could climb more, you could explore more right from the get-go. It would help a lot. Weapon durability, I know this is a pretty common grievance. I don't mind it. I hate how fragile they are. I think it takes like 60 hits to break most weapons in the game. And it doesn't feel like it works for this reason. They feel fragile. Like I said, it's like 40 to 60 hits for them to break. There's no meter that tells you how damaged they are. It's just lets you know that they're about to break, and that's too late for me. I have an issue with how late that comes up. I wish there was a meter that showed you, and there was a way to fix them. That, like, if you brought amber or diamond or something to a blacksmith, they could repair them. If there was a blacksmith at every town and horse stable, and they could repair that for you for rupees and minerals, that would be great. The variety of enemies is also a little lacking. There's essentially choo-choos, bokoblins, moblins, and guardians. I think that's it. It is very lacking in enemy variety. These enemies are fun. Don't get me wrong. It's fun watching their routines, watching them just dance around, swing around. It's really funny when you take all the weapons away from like the bokoblins and moblins will start throwing bokoblins at you. This stuff is all great. The combat itself is fun. It's fun. It's just weapon durability, and I wish there were more enemy types. But other than that, it's very, very good gameplay. Gameplay for Tears of the Kingdom. I'm going to get into the cons first because they're essentially the same. The game is very grindy. It is very grindy. They added even more shrines. So there's even more hearts and stamina wheels to get. They didn't change anything about that. Adding to that, there's a Zonai battery. And the Zonai battery starts off very low. And you have to go into the depths to get like 100 Zonite to get charges. You have to get like 100 charges to get one little extra notch on your battery, which doesn't really add anything. It adds maybe a couple seconds to how long you can use something. It is so annoying. On top of that, in like the skies, there's also Sage's Wills, and 4 Sage's Wills level up your Sage abilities, which we will get into later. But it is so grindy. Breath of the Wild was pushing it with its grindy level. Tears of the Kingdom, it exceeded it, I think. Its other weaknesses, the weapon durability is still there. Still no meter, still no way to repair these weapons. Stamina, you still start off really low. It's still a pretty big issue. But the pros, they outweigh the cons. Just like Breath of the Wild, they outweigh them. First, the exploration. You start off in the skies, you jump down to the land. Land is essentially the same. There's changes with locations. There's Lookout Landing right in the middle. And you start in the middle for weaker enemies. You work your way out. They get stronger as you go out. There's more costumes. You can get all the amiibo costumes in-game. Unlike Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, you had to have amiibos to get, like, the Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Wind Waker, all those costumes. You had to use the amiibo. Tears of the Kingdom, you can still use the amiibo, or you can find them in the depths. And they added even more costumes that add even more variety, including, thank God, a like wetsuit. I think it's a frog suit that lets you climb while it's raining. And it is a lifesaver. Like Breath of the Wild, this game is also giving you a lot of freedom. This gives you even more freedom because of the abilities that let you do things your way. Essentially, you go into a shrine and Breath of the Wild shows you this is how you do the shrine. These are the physics. You do this, and you'll get to the end. You can do them in any order, but they show you how to do them. Tears of the Kingdom goes, here's these tools, find a way. You can see what they kind of intend for you to do, but you can do whatever you want. You can build the most insane contraptions ever, and it is beautiful. It adds to so much variety. Speaking of the variety in combat is also amazing, because you can fuse things to these weapons. All the weapon groups from Breath of the Wild. You have the one hand, two hand, boomerang, bow, and you can fuse things to them to add an essentially infinite variety of different weapons. You can make hammers, you can make rock boomerangs, you can make a claymore on top of a claymore, you can put a shield on top of a sword, you can do whatever you want. And it's amazing. They added more enemies. They added... I guess they didn't add Lionels. Those were also in Breath of the Wild. I just kind of forgot about them. But they added the three-headed dragons, the Gleeoks. They added more types of moblins. They added enemies in the depths. Like this giant frog thing that's essentially a boss. The Taluses from Breath of the Wild are now bases for Bokoblins. They have Bokoblin fortresses built on top of them, which is a super cool little thing that just makes things slightly more difficult, unless you're insane like I am. And the abilities allow you to do what you want. You can rewind things. You can sit and throw your boomerang, and then you can hit recall, and it'll go right back in time, and it'll hit things again. It's really cool. There's Ascend, which lets you go into ceilings and go straight up, which is very, very nice for doing things like escaping caves, because there's caves in this game, which there weren't any in Breath of the Wild, for whatever reason. I honestly don't really know, but I digress. Essentially, Tears of the Kingdom's gameplay is what Breath of the Wild did good, it did better. But what Breath of the Wild did bad, it did worse. Alright, getting into the characters of Breath of the Wild. I'm going to try to speed through this because I'm realizing just how long this video is going to be. So I'll try to be quick. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of neutral and forgettable, and a couple poor characters. The good, Revali and Cass, two Ritos. I find them both, while they don't have a whole lot of development or anything, I think for their own purposes, they find a way to be memorable. Cass just is constantly playing his accordion, and he sings songs that very abundantly very clearly show you how to get shrine quests done. Revali is snarky and doesn't like Link and doesn't think that he should be a champion just because he's worthy to wield the Master Sword. Sidon and Mipha, two characters are also good. Mipha being the healer of the champions, and Sidon being her little brother, who I think was and still is a fan favorite. Pyrrha. I think Pyrrha is a really good character. It's interesting how she used technology and accidentally turned herself into like a little kid. I think that's a really interesting thing, like interesting approach that they took. Paya having a big crush on Link is really adorable, and if you go up to her with like no shirt on, she demands that you be more modest. You can read her diary, you can see how she stutters, all that such. Riju in the Gerudo region I find to be a really good and interesting character. I think she's better than Urbosa, because Urbosa was a little bit bland in the warrior personality. Riju has a little bit, it's similar but a little more in depth. Teba another one of the Rito. He is the descendant of Revali, I believe, and he is living in a little bit of shame for not being able to beat the divine beast on his own. So you find him training in the bow area, and he wants to do it again, and he refuses to go home until it's done. And then Link is a good encapsulation for the player to go get into the world of Hyrule, but you can see it expanded with the memories that Zelda has, as well as, or I guess Link has, as well as reading things like Zelda's diary in Hyrule Castle. You can see that he's a glutton. He likes food. He doesn't talk really at all because he doesn't think it's worth it. Action speaks louder than words, and I find that a really good approach for Link. And the last one is Koga. Koga he's so dumb, but it's when you see something and it's like so dumb but you love it, like a guilty pleasure. That's how I feel about Koga. He seems so incompetent, and I'm absolutely here for it. It's great. Now the cons for characters, there's not a lot. I think Daruk was a little subpar. He was a little underwhelming. Not like to the point that I can't stand him, but just enough to be not neutral towards, if that makes sense. Zelda. I could not stand Zelda for most of Breath of the Wild. Most of the memories, I found her whiny and annoying, and the whole thing was she's like incompetent. And I understand it's like she's a princess, so she's going to be that way. It's realistic for what a character in that lavish lifestyle would be like, but it still just did not connect for me. It's not terrible, especially towards later in things like the memories when she starts to open up a little bit more. And then this might be a hot take. I did not like her voice actor. I do not like her voice actor. I think it was a very poor direction for them to take. You know, Bo, I don't think I need to say anything else. I legitimately detest that character. I do not care for him in the slightest. Calamity Ganon is the most generic sort of big bad approach to Ganon they could have taken. It's just a manifestation of his evil, and the design is cool, but that's really it. And as I mentioned before with things like the gameplay, the enemy variety is a little lacking. So yeah, I mean, Breath of the Wild, it overall is pretty good, but it's got a few decent sized negatives. Getting into the characters for Tears of the Kingdom, I'll just go over the characters that are good, that were also good in Breath of the Wild, because it's pretty much for the same reasons. We have Sidon, Riju, Pura, Paya. Paya's a little different. She doesn't really have a crush on Link anymore, but she has taken over as the leader of Kakariko, and that character development I appreciate a lot. We also have Koga. Now these other ones we will get into, and I will give a little more depth on. Zelda is now in the pros, because these memories revolve around her. Almost all of them, or I think all of them in Breath of the Wild, had her in them, but they didn't really revolve around her. They revolved around Link being her guardian. These are about her, and they are about her growth, and from the beginning to the end of the game, you can see some pretty exponential growth, especially if you look at the beginning of Breath of the Wild. Lore-wise, with the memories, to the end of Tears of the Kingdom, she is almost a completely different character, and I love that. I love character growth. It's why I think Avatar: The Last Airbender might be the best show ever. And I'll get into that in the future, but I love character growth. It's amazing. Other characters, Ganondorf. Ganondorf was a lot better in this compared to things like the last game, Breath of the Wild. I think he was better than the Ganondorf in Ocarina of Time, too. That one was sort of an evil for evil's sake. But I do think he's still a little underwhelming compared to the Ganondorf of Twilight Princess and the Wind Waker. But still, really good character. A lot better than the previous installation of him. Koga. I can't remember if I mentioned Koga, but he's same as Breath of the Wild. He's kind of incompetent. He builds the Zonai contraptions in his boss fights. And now enemies are a pro too, because there's a lot more variety. And they still have their routines, and I think they're expanded on a little bit more. The cons, still Yunobo, still some of the Sheikas. I mean, like Joshua, I didn't really care for a whole lot. And then the Rito that took over for Cass, the newspaper Rito. I can't quite remember his name. I just remember he says "soar along" every single time he goes to leave. So overall, once again, mostly good or neutral with a couple bad. Alright, the world. This is where these games absolutely, positively shine. This is the highlight of these games. Like I have mentioned before, beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, it's like chef's kiss type. Breath of the Wild. Let's get into these pros. The size. This might be one of the biggest size worlds I've ever seen. And it is dense. It's not like Wind Waker where it's a big open sea with like 40 small islands and not a whole lot to do on most of them. It's, you find characters, you find shrines, you find, enemies. Like I said, enemy routines. You'll find a whole lot of different things. On top of that, you'll find just animals roaming around. You'll find things like a sort of a hiding in a floral area of a mountain that was a memento to Iwata, because this game was in development, I believe, when he passed. Other pros for this, we have the variety. It's the variety of landscapes. You have plains, you have volcanic areas, you have snow, you have desert, you have open ocean, there's islands, there's so much. There's a little bit for everybody on the entire map, and it's enough for everyone to eat. It's not people getting scraps. Everyone gets a plate, and I love it. I've already gone over the enemy and NPC routines a few times, so I'll just gloss past that. The color palette of the world. The color palette is so nice. The sort of washed greens and colors I don't usually go for as much, but with this half cell shaded sort of style, it's sort of like an Eastern stylization. It looks so good. It looks so good. Every single blade of grass and the wind blowing, it's beautiful. It is legitimately beautiful. And then the Divine Beast and the Guardians, I think they're moving around the world, especially the Divine Beast. You can zoom in using the Sheikah Slate, and you can see them climbing on Death Mountain or soaring the skies. It's amazing. It is so cool. And the Guardians, their designs are amazing. I'm glad they didn't take some of the other design plans that they had where they were like skull-like or a lot more spider-like, like a creature instead of technology. I'm glad this is the approach they took because it manages to fit the world really well as like this post-apocalyptic style. I love it. The cons, there's a couple. The shrine quantity, like I said, 120 is too many. And then the interiors of the shrines all look the exact same. It is almost jarring how different the stylization of the shrines are to literally the rest of the world. And I get it, it's all the technology, so it's a little bit like, how can I say the Guardians look good and stuff and these look bad? They have more texture. They have more design to them. The shrine interiors are just like hardwood floors, bland ceiling. Or not hardwood floor, they're tile floor. Bland ceiling and lacking in color. A lot of dark blues and grays. It doesn't resonate with me. If it resonates with you, of course, that's okay. It just didn't hit for me. And, I mean, that's that. Overall, the world, though, is just, it's peak. It's peak. Tears of the Kingdom. Once again, chef's kiss. The size, it's even bigger. It's even bigger in Breath of the Wild. Yeah, it's remarkably similar. People who say it's the exact same map are lying to you. They are either undermining the game, have never played it, or are just straight up lying. Because they added Lookout Landing. There's changes to the world in landscapes because some of the Sky Islands have fallen and they permanently stay on the Hyrule world, in the Hyrule floor. Speaking of the Sky Islands, they added the Sky Islands, which have a different color palette as opposed to the sort of greens and blues. These are a lot of yellows and oranges, and it's very nicely contrasting. It's very bright, very vibrant compared to the rest of the world. And they expanded on the world even more than that. It's not just a few Sky Islands and then Hyrule. There's also the depths. The depths are the antithesis of the Sky Islands. I'll explain. The depths are the same size as the land of Hyrule, but it is dark. There's a lot of purples and reds, and it is the opposite landscape as the land of Hyrule. So every mountain in Hyrule is a crater in the depths, and vice versa. It's really unique. It's really cool. And that's the positive of the depths. There are negatives, and I'll get into that now. The depths for the first con are that color scheme. While it's unique and it fits as the contrast, I know what they were going for. It makes it hard to want to stay there for a long time. I mean, the enemies are tough, and it's kind of just a place you go to grind, and then you leave because it's just gray ground. You can't even see the sky. You can't see too far ahead of you. It's sort of bland and doesn't give you a lot of reason to want to stay. And the skies are sort of the opposite. They are beautiful. I love soaring the skies. It was my favorite way to get around in this game. But they're kind of empty. There's not many enemies. When there are, it's the not the Zonite like robots, and they are defeated really easily, and there's really not many of them. they're really only on the islands that try to show you how to do things. And then there's a couple mini bosses. There's the flex constructs. But that's about it. Those couple treasure chests, a couple ways to get equipment as well, but not a whole lot there. It's beautiful exterior, nothing on the inside sort of thing. And it's a little disappointing, frankly. The cons is the same as Breath of the Wild. The shrine quantity and the look of the shrines. They added even more. There's over 120. I think there's like 150 to 200 off the top of my head. I'm honestly not really that sure. And they look very, very similar on the interior as Breath of the Wild, which doesn't make as much sense because those were meant to be futuristic, and the shrines of Tears of the Kingdom are like millennia old. So I don't know. It doesn't make too much sense to me, but they had to reuse designs for the visualization of these games. I'm going to combine them into one, and they're going to have the same score because they are virtually the same style-wise. I mean, the Tears of the Kingdom has the depths and Sky Islands and a couple of changes visually, but overall it is just about the exact same. So, like I said, combine them into one. The pros: we have the color palette. Like I already mentioned this already, it's a very good color palette. It's a really good look. The character designs, the character animations, art style, all amazing, all beautiful. The cons: we've already discussed the shrine interior design and the shrines really in general. They don't have the best look. Textures: if you look closely, especially on things like mountains, you can tell how muddy and gross looking they are. It is sort of like a just don't look too hard sort of thing. The games were limited by their hardware that they were released on, because expanding on that, the dated hardware leads these games to cap at 900p 30 FPS, and they had frequent frame drops, especially in certain areas. Like the Korok Forest was terrible, especially in Breath of the Wild. It dropped to maybe 10 FPS, and it drove me crazy. So it's not really the fault of the game, but it's something you experience nonetheless. And unfortunately, it's kind of at the game's detriment, even though it's not its fault. It's really unfortunate. Alright, I'm going to switch back over to display capture for this, but next segment is audio. And there's a very particular reason why I am swapping over. The music. It's the music. It is so good. It is so good. Sorry, I'm looking left and right. I'm trying to make sure everything is lined up okay. Before we really get into that, I'll get over some of the other stuff for sound design that I find good. Overall, the sound design, the stepping on rock, the rustling grass, the sound of the rivers, all that, it all sounds really, really good. The ambiance that plays in the overworld is relaxing. It's not necessarily thrilling, and it's not like this big great thing, but I understood the approach that they took. They wanted it to be relaxing exploration except for when you encountered some enemies. Yeah, getting into that music though, I mean, we'll start with what I have pulled up here, Revali's theme. We'll go ahead and give it a listen. I forgot to say anything, but I'm gonna give credit now to Peach's Lamb for the video. I mean, as you can see on the display, I just wanted to give some auditory confirmation and thanks to them for this. It is so good. It is so good. And it doesn't get any worse. It doesn't get any worse. I'll go over a little bit of Sidon's theme here. And I won't go over all the music here. But I will mention some of the other ones. So this video is ignore the ad to get out of here. Get out of here. Thank you AFF56 for this video. So the first one we went over, Revali's theme. I love the sort of gentle music that contrasts the personality of Revali. Revali, while he's not like in your face yelling or anything, his personality is intense. And the music sort of being like this gentle, easy, uplifting sort of thing. The uplifting makes sense because he can fly. He's a bird. But his theme contrasts his personality, and I love it. And Sidon's theme, I love the flutes. I love the use of the wind instruments, and they use it in a powerful way, which I feel isn't done very often. Typically in music, at least from what I have observed and what I can think of, it's brass. It's brass that's used for power and loudness, and then wind instruments and things like harp are used for easiness. They're used for tenderness. So I love them kind of flipping the script on that. The other music that I won't play, but I do want to point out how good it is. I mean, we have the SOS calls in each of the Divine Beasts, and they all play at different points. Mipha's plays immediately before you get any of the checkpoints. And I know Revali's plays last. His plays on the way to defeat the Blight in that Divine Beast. The other two, I'm not quite so sure when they play, but I know each and every one of them has it. Some of the other themes, Mipha's theme. Mipha's theme is also very gentle. It suits her personality, unlike Revali's, and it's also really good. The boss music for the Blights is also really good. And one I want to go over is Hyrule Castle. It genuinely might be the best rendition of Hyrule Castle, and it might be a top 3 Zelda song. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but it is good. And thank you, Mr. Omnistone, for this video. Like I said, you can see it on there, but I do want to give every bit of thanks that I can and acknowledgement. It's not my video. I'm making a video using their video. It's the least I can do, right? Let's get into it. So we start off there with a march. It's a march and a rendition of Hyrule Castle. And this part for Hyrule Castle is, I don't want to talk over too much because it's so good, but it's dark. It's not morbid, but it's dark. It doesn't have hope to it. And then Guardian music, implementing that. It's so good. I'm gonna try to find a... There's Ganon. Right into the hero's theme. It hits its lowest and then the most hopeful. It's so good. Here the hero's theme merges into Hyrule Castle. It resolves here. And then Hyrule Castle again, but this time it's triumphant. It's powerful. It's symbolization. This is... Link is here. The hero is here. And nothing's stopping him. And I love it. I love when music tells a story. And Zelda games, they thrive at it. They do such a good job. I'll try to get to the interior here. Here we go. Okay. So, again, it's Hyrule Castle on wind and strings and organ into Zelda's theme. And there's the high pitch dinging symbolization of low health. That's what plays whenever you're low on health in Zelda games, and it's symbolizing that Zelda is dying. And then Zelda's lullaby goes into the hero's theme and resolves back into Hyrule Castle. It's so good. It is a genuine masterpiece. It might be... I think it's a highlight of both the games, music-wise. That being said, Tears of the Kingdom's got some damn good ones, too. It's got some damn good ones. To the point that I don't really know who to give it to. But if you were to choose which one has the better audio based off of one song, Breath of the Wild honestly might take the cake. And I'm speechless. It's actually just so good. It's amazing. You know, it's got me so hyped up I forgot to even go over the cons. Good thing there's only one, and it is the same as Tears of the Kingdom's. The voice acting. The voice acting, I think, was a little bit better in Tears of the Kingdom, but it's not great in either of them. Especially, like I said, Zelda and Unobo are terrible. I legitimately just do not like them. The other ones make me cringe a little bit, but those ones I don't like. If they do the voice acting approach again, I think they need new voice actors, or at the very, very least, just changed the approach that they took. But getting into Tears of the Kingdom's pros, again, sound design, the ambiance it plays in the overworld, those are just like Breath of the Wild's. Again, very similar. Sidon's theme is the same. It's still very good. Hyrule Castle's remix. Let's see here. Let me look it up. It is very different than the Hyrule Castle of Breath of the Wild. It is... Here, I'll do this one. Thank you, Safety OST, for the video. I appreciate it. It is helping me make this a lot. It is making my life a whole lot easier, so thank you. Here. This is eerie. The march of the drum isn't what it should be. It's the same Hyrule Castle. The theme is the same, but they twist it. They just kind of do that with it to make it this really eerie sound. And it fits because the sky has risen. It's got the fog. It has malice covered all over. I think it's gloom. I think it's gloom in Tears of the Kingdom. But it's encapsulating the castle. So it fits really well. Some of the other ones we have here are Ganondorf's theme, the Demon Dragon, the Final Fall, and Colgera's theme. And I will show you those last two. The other ones you will have to look up yourself if you want to take my word for it, but they are also very good. Just not as good as these two. Here we go. Thank you, OST. It's the Tears of the Kingdom theme. And I don't think it plays until this moment. It might play at the very beginning when you first make the jump onto the Great Island. But that's it. It's perfect for Link falling from the sky, catching a falling Zelda. Zelda! There you go, perfect timing. It is almost a conclusion. It makes me think maybe there's not going to be another one of these games. Like, this is it. This is the final time this Link saves this Zelda. And it is the antithesis of what she's been doing, helping and saving him the whole game. And with this fight, I mean, the Demon King just turned into a dragon. And you ride a dragon fighting a dragon in the sky. It doesn't get better than that. Like, it's so good. It's so good. And the final video here, I said it. Here we go. Here's Colgera. I'll skip to what everyone knows to be the highlight. Here we go. Thank you, Woolgatherer. You kind of go up and down the scale here. Kind of this creepy, cold. It's cold. And it fits the boss because you're in a cold area. And the wind instruments of the Rito come in. Again, powerful wind instruments. Into the Rito's leitmotif. It's... I feel like I ascend into the ethereal plane every time I hear that. It is so good. It is so good. I don't want to talk. Here we go. Oh my god. It is... it's breathtaking. It's so good. The music here. These games don't get the credit they deserve for the music that they have. And I'll explain. When people talk about the music of Zelda games, they rightfully talk about the music of Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, the original. I guess the original really just is the overworld theme, but Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, you have The Great Sea, you have Midna's Lament, you have the Song of Time, Zelda's Lullaby, the Fairy theme, which I have a personal grievance with because everyone gives Ocarina of Time credit for that, and it started with A Link to the Past. It did not start with Ocarina of Time. That doesn't pertain to this conversation at all, whatsoever. But it annoys me. Let's stop that. Let's give the credit to A Link to the Past because it deserves it. I digress. All of them amazing, and their soundtracks overall are probably better than these ones. However, people kind of treat the music of these games and the sound design gets trapped with the music. They treat it like it's just the ambiance. Like I said, the ambiance is good. It fits, but it doesn't hit you. You kind of ignore it. And I feel like that was kind of the point, but it doesn't hit the way Zelda music does, especially like when it hits. And this hits. Hyrule Castle, it hits. When the music is there, it is there. And I feel like that doesn't get acknowledged the way it should. So I'm here to give it that acknowledgement. We're sitting here and we listen to this, and I am going to sit here and sing his praises. And you know what? I'm going to sit here a little bit longer to keep singing praises, even though I already said it. These songs are almost perfect. They're legitimately... They might be perfect. These songs might be 10 out of 10 songs. They are so good. You know what? Maybe I'll reach out to some old friends that I took music classes with, and they took like music theory and stuff, and be like, hey, what do you think of this? And you know what? They're going to tell me, this hits. It's perfect. And I know, because it is perfect. I'm done. I sing the praises enough, but, you know, needless to say, the audio is going to get a very high score, and rightfully so. If you disagree with me, you can disagree with everything else on this, but you're wrong on that. The enjoyability of these games, I'll just get the obvious out of the way. They're enjoyable. If you haven't figured out that I enjoy these games by now, I don't know if you've been watching. But let's get into it. Nonetheless, Breath of the Wild, the pros, the exploration, the art design, the world, the choices that you have in things like combat. You can do things the way you want to. The NPCs all have their routines. If they see monsters, they'll start either running away or attacking. It makes the world feel alive. It feels like a post-apocalyptic world, and not in the stereotypical like zombies, lava, hellscape sort of way. It's beautiful. It's grass, overgrown. Creatures roaming around. There's very few signs of civilization. Civilization's been destroyed. And in a way, that's beautiful, because destruction breeds creation, and you see the world is growing around what was wrecked, and it's beautiful. The world and the art design fit that direction perfectly. There are a few cons with this enjoyability, though. Some of these things make the game less enjoyable than it should be. There's not a lot of side quests. Your side quests are limited to, at least in terms of memorable ones, Hateno Village, making a house in Hateno Village. and Terrytown. The rest of them are essentially I think they're shrine quests, which they get the job done, but they're not super fitting. They're not memorable. They don't make you feel anything for these side characters, and that's a little disappointing. Like, I love Majora's Mask because Majora's Mask it's so side quest heavy, and it builds these characters, and it builds relationship with these characters. You start to really, really like and appreciate every single side character, and you see every single one of their routines because of their side quests. All these characters have routines as well, and you would notice them more if there was more side quests that didn't involve shrines. I wish they did, but it's too late for that now. Weapon durability, as much as I like the combat and all the combat mechanics, I've mentioned it a few times, it needed a meter, it needed a way to repair weapons, because everybody's going to have a favorite weapon. That's not the Master Sword. Everyone's going to be the Master Sword, but before that, everyone's going to have a go-to weapon, and if there's not a way to repair it, they're going to want to look for another one, or at least one very similar, and they're not going to be encouraged to try things like axes and stuff. Everyone's going to have their go-to. I have my go-to. It's a one-handed sword. I'll occasionally switch when I need some powerful strikes and I don't want to block. I just want to deal some raw power. But for the most part, it's the sword and shield, and I'm just like everyone else. The Master Sword is the go-to because of that. The voice acting is not good. The grindy nature, it's the nature of the game. Unfortunately, I think they should have toned it down a little bit, but it's not a huge detriment. I understand it's the nature of the game. It's just a bit much. And then the hardware, again, not the fault of the game, but the frame drops are really bad sometimes. They are like, if I notice it, it is an issue. The 900p 30 FPS lock I could get over. It was not ideal, but I could pretty easily look past it. But when those frame drops happened, they were so terrible. Once I finished the Korok Forest, once I did what I needed to do there, I never went back because of the frame drops. Not because of the place itself, because it is beautiful there. I wanted to go back, but I refused to because I didn't want to play a 12 FPS game at that point, which is quite unfortunate. Alright, Tears of the Kingdom. Let's get into this. The exploration, the art design, the world, I mean, basically everything that was enjoyable about Breath of the Wild is enjoyable about this game. But there's even more. There's more character routines. There's more enemy designs. There's more enemy routines. There's more ways to travel this grand world. There's more ways to fight. There's more ways to solve puzzles. It's everything you like about Breath of the Wild and more. Unfortunately, everything you don't like about Breath of the Wild and more. There's more weapons, but there's still weapon durability. It's still grindy, but it's more grindy. There were still frame drops from the hardware, but there's more frame drops from the hardware. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful that they took so long to make this game, and it's more of the better and also more of the worse. It makes me understand why people maybe don't care for the game. Because if you didn't care for Breath of the Wild, you especially won't care for Tears of the Kingdom. I like Breath of the Wild, so Tears of the Kingdom, to me, also enjoyable. And at that note, we will get into the verdict here, because I just about spoiled it for you. I will go ahead and start here. We'll just start with gameplay, verdict, and I'll go my way down. Breath of the Wild. Oh shit, you know what? Again, I know this isn't the most practical and the best way to do this verdict, but I'm still figuring things out, so I do apologize. But let's get into this final verdict here. The gameplay for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the Wild is an 8 out of 10. Tears of the Kingdom is a 9 out of 10. I love the sense of exploration. I love the sense of openness, the freedom to do the things you want in whatever order you want. I find it very, very liberating. And like I said earlier, everything good about Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom just seems to do better. It's more open. There's more to do. That's a blessing and a curse, unfortunately. There's more ways to fight. There's more ways to solve puzzles. It's everything you can do in Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom incentivizes creativity, and I love that. I love being inspired to just build and see what works. I love being able to just let my mind just go and it not be detrimental, because I overthink things like puzzles in the traditional Zelda sense, which is okay. I don't think it's a terrible thing to do, but Tears of the Kingdom just letting you go, hey, let's see if this works. And when it does something cool but doesn't work, it's, oh, I can use that later. And it's not, I'm never going to see this again. So Tears of the Kingdom is just a hint above there. The story, 6 out of 10's evens. They're slightly above average. They're good. They're good, but they're not great. And each of them for a different reason. The story of Breath of the Wild's, the hostile takeover of Hyrule is fascinating. The character arcs, the character stories are fascinating. Carrying the things with Revali, seeing the memories, those all make this a not great, but good story. In Tears of the Kingdom, the mystery of Ganondorf is intriguing. The puppet Zelda was dumb, especially because I did like all the light tiers first, the dragon tiers first rather, which are another highlight. Seeing the stuff from the past was also a big pro, but at the cost of story, they chose gameplay. It's almost like the two are like a seesaw. Do you want to be more story focused, or do you want to be more free and a more open world? And Zelda has struggled to balance it too. So yeah, 6 out of 10's evens. They're both good. They're not going to win any awards anytime soon for story, but they get the job done. The characters, 6 out of 10 for Breath of the Wild. The characters overall are just kind of better. Side character wise, I mean, with Cass and Revali, all the champions. The champions are better than the sages because you never hear from the sages, really. They exist, but they don't exist in the world, if that makes sense. Where Tears of the Kingdom highlights its characters is in Zelda, in Link, and in Ganondorf, which is good. Those are the big three, so it makes sense, but it was at the slight cost of other side characters that are also prevalent in the story. So it makes it go down a tick. Not enough, but 5, it's a reminder. It's fair. It's not bad. It's average. The world, 10 out of 10's even. There's maybe one game that I can think of that also has a 10 out of 10 world. They don't come around often. These games exceed in this area. Like I said, from the design to the openness to the different landscapes, all of it. It's genuinely beautiful. It's breathtaking. It's free. I love it. Audio. This is going to sound like it contradicts everything that I said, but a 7 out of 10 for Breath of the Wild, which falls under great. If I did just one, if I just did Hyrule Castle, it'd be a 10 out of 10. But there wasn't enough there. There was no Goron theme that really stood out to me. I think they just went with the Goron theme that they always go with, and sooner or later you kind of tune it out. Zora's Domain theme was just like, okay. It was mostly the ambiance, and like I said, it's not a bad thing, but it doesn't lift it up. It kind of brings down the average a bit. The greats are great, but they were fewer than the greats of Tears of the Kingdom, which is an 8 out of 10. Not because, like I said, not because the best is better than Breath of the Wild, but because there was more that was better. The Ganondorf theme, the Final Fall, Colgera theme, the dystopian, twisted sort of Hyrule Castle remix. They expanded. I already said this multiple times. I'll say it again. The stuff that Breath of the Wild did, Tears of the Kingdom just expanded on and did better. And then visual, 7 out of 10's even. They both look good. Don't look too hard. They look good. And enjoyability, 7 out of 10 for Breath of the Wild, 8 out of 10 for Tears of the Kingdom. It really comes down to the sense of freedom. They both feel free, but the freedom I felt in Tears of the Kingdom is not the type of freedom I felt in a game. Really, other than like things like Minecraft. And I love it. I genuinely love it. It is a highlight. And the totals here, 51 out of 70 and 53 out of 70. That makes Breath of the Wild a 7.3 and Tears of the Kingdom a 7.6. A slight edge. So, in this case, the exceptional wins here for me. Couple things I'll say. Both these games are fantastic. Both these games, I think, are must-plays. Their issues aren't big enough issues. And some of them, I'll go ahead and address here. The issues with the 900p, the 30 FPS, and the 900p, 30 FPS cap, frame drops. Play the Switch 2 version. If you have a Switch 2, it solves those issues. The muddy textures are still there, but like you kind of, if you dwell on that, I think you're focused on the wrong things in games, genuinely. I wish if they do a third game, they expand on the story and they add a durability meter and a way to repair things. The way I think that they should expand on the story without taking away from the formula here. First of all, take us to a different Hyrule, or a place that's not Hyrule, sort of like a Termina or something. Just have another apocalyptic event in Hyrule and make the next game about building a new one in a different area. And do the traditional, what they've done with these past two, the 4 dungeons. and then expand on what Tears of the Kingdom did. So do 4 that you can do in any order, and the stories are sort of like 4 little mini stories. Then do what Tears of the Kingdom did and combine them into one. But then expand on it. Maybe instead of doing 1 secret dungeon, you have to find 3 or find 4 secret dungeons. And each one of them expands the story more. You kind of get more linear, because at that point you will have unlocked the whole map. I think that the story being linear inspired you to focus on building the map, but once you have done all 4 out of the 4 corners, getting more linear is okay. And you can do it at your own pace still. You can get to it whenever, but you could do that in any Zelda game. You could sit and explore and do side missions most of the time if they were available. But yeah, I think the first 50% open, free, do whatever you want, and then kind of lock in and build on the story a little bit more at the end than what they did. Build on characters more. Build Zelda up more. Maybe make Zelda a playable character or a companion, like the Tears of the Kingdom sages. Like if she followed you around and helped you fight and helped you solve puzzles, like in Spirit Tracks, that would be really, really cool for the formula. Unfortunately, there's other things we won't be able to do. We won't be able to build things because Raru's hand was taken away from Link at the end of the game. Again, I hate that. I hate that each of these games, even though they're sequels, will feel so disconnected, even in this hypothetical third. But you do what you gotta do in this case. You kind of roll with the punches a little bit. I hope they do a new engine to get rid of some of the bad textures and really showcase the power of the Switch 2. It is still underpowered compared to like the PS5 and stuff, but not graphically. Graphically, it can do quite a bit. Expand on the side missions. Do more than just shrine quests and then a couple of notable ones like the other 2 did. I want at least a handful, 2 handfuls of side missions that I don't want to do this yet because I want to find this side mission. I think that would help bring more people into these games and make them explore these 2 some more. So, that being said, both these games are great. You can see it right there on the screen. They're great. I legitimately love these games. And if you disagree, if you think Breath of the Wild is better, I don't blame you. If you prefer that, I don't blame you. If you prefer the Revolutionary, it did it first. It did do it first. It was inspiring in the whole gaming system, the ecosystem. It inspired a probably 7-year open world revolution, really. And it makes me understand why people might prefer it. I don't. And I feel that that's okay too. And if you don't like either of these games, and you just want to have at it at me in the comments over how bad these games are, I will disagree with you. I don't think you can ever make me dislike these games, but if you have sat here and listened to me incoherently ramble about them for an eternity, it feels like it's only fair that I hear back from you. Whether it's to agree, whether it's you prefer one over the other, whether you feel over one category would change it, or you just want to sit and shit on my parade. I deserve to hear the feedback because you sat and listened to mine, and I appreciate it. So that being said, thank you. Thank you so much for watching the first roughly made very long revolutionary versus extraordinary, and I really, truly hope to see you in the future. Thank you. Peace.